12-year-old Jerome was living in a cardboard box, wearing a torn Thriller jacket he'd found in the trash. When Michael's limo stopped at that Chicago alley at 2 a.m., even his security thought he'd lost his mind. But what happened next would transform a street kid into a Harvard graduate. It was November 15th, 1987. A freezing Chicago night with temperatures dropping below 20 degrees. Michael Jackson had just finished performing at the Chicago Theater, the second stop of his Bad World Tour. The show had been electric. 4,500 fans screaming, singing, crying as Michael moonwalked across the stage, performed Smooth Criminal for one of the first times live, and reminded everyone why he was the undisputed king of pop. But as his limousine made its way back to the Four Seasons Hotel, something happened that would change two lives forever. Michael was exhausted, still in his stage clothes minus the jacket, sweat still glistening on his face despite the cold November air flowing through the cracked window. His security team, Bill, Marcus, and Tony, were discussing the logistics for tomorrow's show when Michael suddenly shouted, "Stop the car!" The driver, confused, started to slow down. They were in a particularly rough part of South Chicago, the kind of area where limousines didn't just stop, especially at 2 a.m. "Michael, we can't stop here," Bill said firmly. "This is not a safe area." "I said stop the car," Michael insisted, his voice carrying an urgency that made the driver hit the brakes. Before anyone could react, Michael was opening his door. What he had seen through the tinted windows was something his security team had missed entirely. A small figure huddled in a cardboard box in an alley, wearing what looked like a red leather jacket. But not just any jacket. Even from the moving car, even in the dim streetlight, Michael had recognized it. It was a Thriller jacket. Torn, dirty, at least 3 sizes too big, but unmistakably his iconic red jacket with black stripes. "Michael, get back in the car," Tony commanded, jumping out after him. But Michael was already walking toward the alley, his sparkly socks catching the streetlight as he navigated around puddles and debris. What he found there would haunt him for the rest of his life. Jerome Williams, 12 years old but small for his age, was curled up in a refrigerator box, using newspapers as blankets. The Thriller jacket, which he'd found in a dumpster behind a Otum shop, was his most prized possession, and his only real protection against the Chicago winter. He'd been on the streets for 3 months, ever since his grandmother died, and he ran away from his 5th foster home. When Jerome saw Michael Jackson walking toward him, he thought he was hallucinating. Hunger did that sometimes. Made you see things. "Hey," Michael said softly, kneeling down beside the box. "That's a cool jacket." Jerome pulled back, terrified. In his experience, when adults approached you at night, it never meant anything good. "It's okay," Michael said, his voice gentle. "I'm not going to hurt you. I noticed your jacket. I have one just like it." That's when Jerome finally looked at the man's face. Really looked. And even in his hunger-addled state, even in the darkness, he knew. You're not real," Jerome whispered. "You're Michael Jackson. You can't be real." "I'm real," Michael said. "And to prove it, he did something that would become legendary in Chicago's homeless community. He took off his own jacket, the actual Bad Tour jacket worth thousands of dollars, and held it out to Jerome. "Here, yours looks a little cold. Want to trade?" Jerome's hands were shaking as he touched the jacket. It was warm from Michael's body heat, and it smelled like cologne and stage smoke. It was the finest thing Jerome had ever touched. "What's your name?" Michael asked. "Jerome Williams." "Jerome, when's the last time you ate?" Jerome tried to remember. "Thursday, I think." Someone threw away half a sandwich. It was now early Monday morning. Michael's eyes filled with tears. He turned to his security team, who were now surrounding them, hands on their weapons, scanning for threats. "We're taking him with us," Michael announced. "Michael, we can't just..." Bill started. "We're taking him with us," Michael repeated, his tone making it clear this wasn't a discussion. "You can't take me," Jerome said, panic in his voice. "They'll arrest you. I'm nobody. I don't have papers. I don't have anything." Michael looked at this child wearing his jacket, literally living in a box, and made a decision that would alter the course of multiple lives. You have me now, Michael said simply. And that's everything. What happened next sounds like fiction, but it was documented by multiple witnesses, including a Chicago Tribune reporter who happened to be driving by and recognized Michael's limo. Michael didn't just take Jerome to get food. He didn't just give him money and leave. Michael Jackson legally became Jerome Williams's guardian. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. First came that night. Michael brought Jerome to his hotel suite at the Four Seasons. The security team was in chaos. The hotel management was panicking. Michael's manager, Frank DeLeo, was screaming on the phone from Los Angeles. "Michael, you can't just adopt a random homeless kid." "Watch me," Michael replied, and hung up. Jerome was in shock. He'd gone from a cardboard box to a penthouse suite in 20 minutes. Michael ran him a bath, the first hot bath Jerome had had in months. While Jerome bathed, Michael had his assistant go out and buy clothes. At 3 a.m., she had to wake up a department store owner who opened just for Michael Jackson. But what happened next was the part that changed everything. While Jerome was getting dressed in his new clothes, Michael found something in the pocket of the torn Thriller jacket. It was a report card. From 2 years ago, straight A's. Every subject. "Jerome," Michael called out, "you were in school?" Jerome came out, drowning in a new sweater. "Before Grandma got sick, I was good at school." "You were more than good," Michael said, holding up the report card. "You were brilliant." Jerome's eyes filled with tears. "Doesn't matter now. Street kids don't go to Harvard, Mr. Jackson. We just try to survive another winter." That's when Michael said something that Jerome would later credit with saving his life. "You said street kids don't go to Harvard. You're not a street kid anymore. You're my kid now. And my kids can go anywhere they want." The legal battle that followed was unprecedented. Michael Jackson, at the height of his fame, fighting the Illinois child welfare system to adopt a homeless boy he'd found in an alley. The media went insane. The headlines wrote themselves, "Wacko Jacko adopts street kid." Jackson's latest stunt, pop star playing parent. But Michael didn't care. He hired the best lawyers in Chicago. When they told him the adoption would be nearly impossible, he said, "Then make it possible." During the months of legal battles, Michael did something extraordinary. He didn't leave Jerome in foster care. He hired a full-time guardian approved by the court and moved them both into a house in Chicago. Michael would fly in every week between tour dates to see Jerome. But more importantly, he enrolled Jerome in school, Francis Parker School, one of Chicago's best private schools. Initially refused to take Jerome. His educational gaps were too severe, they said. He'd never catch up. Michael's response became the stuff of Chicago education legend. He walked into the principal's office with Jerome and said, "This boy survived 2 years on the streets of Chicago. He taught himself to read from newspapers he used as blankets. He kept a report card in his pocket like other kids keep photos of family. You're telling me a child with that kind of determination can't catch up? Give him 1 semester. If he fails, I'll donate $1 million to your school anyway. If he succeeds, you apologize to him publicly." The principal took the bet. Jerome didn't just succeed, he obliterated everyone's expectations. Within 6 months, he went from a 5th grade education level to 8th grade. His teachers called it impossible. Michael called it Jerome. "You know what Jerome has that other kids don't?" Michael told a reporter who asked about the miracle. "He knows what it's like to have nothing, so he appreciates everything. Every book, every class, every opportunity. He's not learning because he has to. He's learning because he finally can." The adoption was finalized on Christmas Eve, 1987. The judge, Harold Washington Jr., said something in court that day that made everyone cry. "In 30 years on the bench, I've seen a lot of adoptions, but I've never seen anything like this. Mr. Jackson, you didn't just save this child from the streets, you saved him from invisibility. Jerome, you didn't just gain a father today, you gained someone who saw your light when the whole world walked past it." But the real transformation was just beginning. Jerome Williams didn't just go to school, he conquered it. By 15, he was taking AP classes. By 16, he was the valedictorian of his class. His graduation speech began with these words: 3 years ago I lived in a box. Today I stand before you heading to Harvard. The difference between then and now isn't just money or opportunity. It's that one person stopped their limousine and saw a human being where everyone else saw trash. Michael attended every important event in Jerome's life. Every science fair, Jerome won them all. Every debate competition, he was undefeated. Every parent-teacher conference. When other parents whispered about Michael Jackson sitting in the school auditorium, Michael would just say, "I'm here for my son." Harvard initially waitlisted Jerome. When Michael found out, he didn't make a donation or throw his weight around. Instead, he told Jerome, "Write them a letter. Tell them your story. Not my story, yours." Jerome's letter to Harvard's admissions board has since become required reading for admissions officers. It began, "I'm not applying to Harvard because Michael Jackson is my adoptive father. I'm applying because when I was freezing in an alley, I read Harvard library books that someone had thrown away. Those books kept me alive, not warm but alive. They reminded me that there was more to life than survival. Now I want to give back to those books. I want to add to them." He was accepted within a week. Jerome Williams graduated from Harvard in 1996 with a degree in social policy and urban development. Michael attended his graduation, trying to stay inconspicuous in sunglasses and a baseball cap. When Jerome's name was called, Michael stood up and cheered so loudly that everyone turned to look. He didn't care. "That's my son," he shouted. "That's my boy." After Harvard, Jerome didn't go into entertainment or try to capitalize on the Jackson name. He went back to Chicago and founded the Thriller House Project, a comprehensive shelter system that doesn't just house homeless youth, that educates them. "Michael taught me that rescue isn't just about pulling someone out of danger," Jerome explained to Oprah in 2005. "It's about showing them they were worth rescuing." By 2009, when Michael passed away, the Thriller House Project had helped over 3,000 homeless youth get off the streets and into schools. Jerome was at Michael's bedside in his final days. "You saved me," Jerome whispered to him. "No," Michael replied weakly. "You saved me. Every time I felt like the fame was too much, like I was losing myself, I remembered that night in Chicago. I remembered why I was given this platform. To stop the car. To see the invisible. To prove that everyone deserves to be loved." Today, Dr. Jerome Williams Jackson, he legally added Jackson to his name after Michael's death, runs the largest homeless youth education program in America. The Thriller House has expanded to 50 cities. His office wall has 2 items, his Harvard diploma and that torn, original Thriller jacket he wore in the alley. "People always focus on how Michael Jackson adopted a homeless kid," Jerome says. "But that's not the real story. The real story is that on a freezing Chicago night, when a limo could have just kept driving, someone chose to stop. Someone chose to see." In that moment, Michael didn't just change my life. He changed what I thought was possible for any forgotten child. Every November 15th, Jerome returns to that alley in South Chicago. It's not an alley anymore. It's the site of the Michael Jackson Center for Homeless Youth. The building's entrance has a bronze plaque with Michael's words from that night. "You're not a street kid anymore. You're my kid now. And my kids can go anywhere they want." To date, 47 Harvard graduates have come from the Thriller House Project. 15 are now doctors. 23 are lawyers. 8 run their own homeless programs. 2 are senators. When asked about Michael's legacy, Jerome always says the same thing. Michael Jackson sold 750 million records. He won 13 Grammys. He revolutionized music video. But his greatest achievement, he stopped the car. On a cold Chicago night, the biggest star in the world stopped his car for a nobody, and that nobody is now making sure other nobodies know they're somebody. The torn Thriller jacket is now in the Smithsonian, part of an exhibit on American compassion. Next to it is a photo from Jerome's Harvard graduation. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, crying with joy as his son walks across the stage. The caption reads, "Sometimes saving one life creates a ripple that saves thousands." Jerome Williams Jackson has saved 12,000 and counting. All because one night, Michael Jackson recognized his own jacket in an alley and chose to see the child wearing it.